welcome to today's lunchtime lesson. So today we're doing a sort of speaking and vocabulary focus, a very practical class. And we're going to be talking about going to the hairdressers. And I don't know if you've ever tried to have your hair cut in a foreign language, but it can be a very, very scary thing to do. Yeah. And actually, I had my hair cut in Spain once, and I speak Spanish fine. I'm bilingual in Spanish. And even then, I nearly got all of my head shaved. Okay. This is a true story. It was very frightening. So I think it's definitely useful language to go over and to make sure that we're all clear with. And yeah, there's probably going to be some things that you already know and you're familiar with. But I think for everyone, there will be some new language. And hopefully by the end, you're going to feel confident when it comes to going into a hairdresser and getting your hair cut, okay? So we're going to look at some language to help you go through this, okay? Now, also just to say, if you get your hair cut in the UK, especially if you are a woman, haircuts are super expensive, right? And I know in other parts of Europe, it's much cheaper, but I went to the hairdresser the other day. Don't tell my husband, please, but I spent about £70 on my hair. Yeah, and that was getting it cut, getting a treatment, and getting some color in it. So yeah, if I go and get like my full color, which I don't do regularly, it'll probably cost about £130. Okay, so it is not cheap. Yeah, if you're a guy, it will be cheaper, of course, but just be prepared that you might pay more than you expect. Okay, so because it is expensive, it's really important that you know what you want and that you're able to express that, and also that you can tell or feel confident telling the hairdresser you don't like it. We're just going to start with a few basics, and I'll let you test yourself at the same time, okay? So I'm going to show you some photos, and I want you to either think of the word or you can type it in the chat box for me, right? So first of all, we're thinking of the length of the hair, yeah? So this one, for example, would be short hair, okay? Now, what about this one? What word would you use to talk about this length of hair? Because I would not say medium length, yeah? I'd maybe say mid-length. You're really close, Killian, not quite shoulder long, but shoulder length. Well done. So long is the adjective and length is the noun, okay? So you'd have shoulder length hair. And then this one, nice and easy, hopefully, okay? Yeah, will be your long hair. Okay, now we've got lots of different hair types as well, yeah? So see if you can think of what the words would be for this one. So the first one over here, that kind of hair is what we call afro hair. This one over here, see if you can think of the word, that'll be straight, okay? This one over here will be curly. And this one over here, like this, is wavy, okay? Okay, so these are the most common hair types that we can get, yeah? And now in terms of color, you probably know these too, but be careful. So George Clooney over here, he doesn't have white hair, he has gray hair. This lady has brown hair, and this lady has blonde hair. And this beautiful hair over here, which I would love to have, is red hair. Okay. Just to say as well, we have two other words when we talk here about brown and blonde. So blonde is an adjective for hair, but it can also be used as a noun to talk about a person. Like, yeah, you know, the film, the movie, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, for example. Okay. For people, for women with brown hair, we have another word which we use as a noun, which is brunette. So you have blondes and you have brunettes, okay? We don't use the word brunette for men because, of course, in a patriarchal society, we don't limit men to just being the color of their hair. We allow them to have personalities too. Okay, so that's my feminist rant over for now. We might continue it later. Right, so now we're going to think as well. I've tried to do a mix here of both male and female haircuts, or of course haircuts for anybody, because they don't have to be limited to men or women anymore. So if you want to go and get like this classic cut, most commonly used for men, but also of course can be for women too. So this kind of haircut, guys, is what we'd call a short back and sides. Yeah. So if you're going in for your basic, right, short back and sides. This here, don't know if anyone knows the word for this, like the one that I have here as well. In British English, we have two words for this. British English, the word is fringe. Okay. In American English, they use the word bangs. I have no idea why. I don't understand why they're called bangs. But yeah, in American English, it's bangs. In British English, though, it's fringe. Right. Now, this, one of the most classic haircuts, this shape here, this is what we call a bob. Okay. And you can have a short bob, a long bob, an asymmetrical bob, lots of different kinds. And this kind of haircut here, where you go, instead of it being just like one line and you cut into the hair a little bit, this is what we call layers. Okay, so you might go into the hairdresser and say, I'd like some layers in my hair, please. Right, now you might go, this is a little bit old-fashioned now, but especially in the 2000s, the early 2000s, it was very common to get highlights. So that's when part of your hair is lighter than the other parts of your hair, like this lady here. You can see she's got blonde highlights. And nowadays, the sort of more trendy word is balayage, okay, which is what I have. So your balayage is when, instead of going from the roots, you just get kind of the bottom part of your hair lightened. Okay, so if you're wanting to get your hair dyed, that's probably what you're going to ask for, is balayage. Okay, now something that if you're, again, I'm saying a guy, of course you don't have to be a guy, it's more common for men's hair, is a taper and fade. So taper and fade are basically the same word. I think there is a very minor difference. I would say fade is the more common one. And this is the fade, guys, the part where, you know, how much hair you take off going up to the top. So you can have a low fade, a mid fade, or a high fade. Yeah, so for example, here, this would be quite a high fade that you can see going on there. So it's like the distance between the difference with the length of what hair is coming off. Yep, so if you're going to the hairdresser, you'd say, I'd like a high fade, please, on the side. Now, this as well is really popular. It was traditionally with men. Lots of women are getting this now. It's called an undercut. If you have nice thick hair, I think it's super cool. I do not have thick hair. It would look terrible on me. But yeah, so when you have a shorter part underneath your hair and longer hair underneath, yeah. And this here, guys, when you get your hair cut really short, it's what we call a buzz cut. Okay. So a buzz cut, if you think of like the army, it's that kind of typical thing when a soldier goes into the army and all their hair comes off, they have to get a buzz cut. Okay. And this one here, when you get your hair cropped short, this is for women, it would be called a pixie cut. Okay. And again, you can have a long pixie cut, a short pixie cut, lots of different kinds of pixie cuts too. Okay, right, so those are the kind of sort of main things about haircuts and styles. But if you're going to the hairdresser, there might be some other things that you want to ask them to do as well. So you're probably going to ask for a cut and a blow dry. So that's when they wash and cut your hair, and afterwards they style it and they dry it for you. Yeah, so that's your cut and blow dry. You might want to, get a trim. Okay, so trim is just when you're taking the ends off your hair, and normally they'll say like a couple of inches. You want an inch off because hairdressers usually use inches instead of centimeters. So yeah, you'd say like 1 inch or 2 off the ends, okay, of your hair. You might want to go and get your hair dyed, yeah? And if you're getting your hair dyed, you have a few options for that. You might want to get a permanent or a semi-permanent color, or if you just want something that'll wash out in a couple of washes, you get a toner, okay? And if you get your hair dyed regularly, you might have this problem where the color changes as it grows. So these are your roots. So sometimes you might go and just get your roots done, yeah, or touched up, yeah. So we quite often use the expression, I'm getting my roots touched up. I'm just getting them improved. Okay. If you have curly hair, you might want them to straighten your hair, yeah, get it straightened, like here. And if you want your hair longer, again, this is not so fashionable anymore. Anyone from the 2000s probably had these. If you think of Britney Spears, so you might get hair extensions as well when they put sort of this fake hair into your own hair. Okay, you might also get braids or get your hair braided. And if you notice, I've used this structure a lot talking about hair today. So when somebody does something for you, we use this structure with get or have, like get your hair cut, have your nails painted. Yeah, it's a really common structure to use. If you're a guy, you'll probably go to a barber's, not a hairdresser's. Yeah, I would recommend you go to a barber's because they're generally much cheaper than a hairdresser's. When I was 14, my dad wanted me to go to get my hair cut at a barber's. I was not impressed, needless to say. And at the barber's, they might offer you a shave, guys, yeah, as well. And you might also get your hair cut with clippers, yeah. If you get your hair cut with clippers, they're probably going to ask you what number you want. So you would get, for example, a number 2. Yeah, this is a number 2 cut. Number 3, number 4. Number 1 is the shortest, and you go up. Okay, now things that the hairdresser will probably say if you come in. When they ask you, you'll have your consultation and they'll ask you what you want to do with your hair. And some things they might say are, what are you after? Okay. What are we doing today? What are you thinking? Or what are we going for? Right? So don't expect them to just say, what do you want? Because the hairdresser will probably express it differently. Yeah. So these are a selection of options that you can use. You might want to reply with, I just want to trim. Now, this word just, we use this a lot when we're speaking as a kind of softener, yeah, because it makes our speaking a little less direct. So I just want a trim, I just want a tidy up. I was thinking about getting a bob, or I was thinking about getting a pixie cut. Or you might want your hairdresser suggestions, right? So I don't know, what would you suggest? Okay. And after you have your consultation, they're probably going to say some of the following things to you too, right? So I'll just get Sarah to take you over. So that means Sarah, or whoever's the assistant, is going to take you to get your hair washed. Yeah. They'll probably ask to take your coat or your bag. And they'll say, let me just put this on you. And that's when they put your towel and all these things on. When you're getting your hair washed, they might ask you to sit up a bit. Okay, they might ask you to lift your head or move your head, or they might ask you to move down a bit as well in your seat. Okay, and they'll definitely ask you, how's the water for you? Right, so you're guaranteed to hear that question, and you can say if it's too hot or if it's too cold. And in the international tradition of hairdressers, when they're washing your hair, they're going to give you some chat, okay? They're going to ask you questions. So the classic question a hairdresser will ask you is, are you going anywhere nice on your holidays? Okay, I don't know if that's what they ask in your language, but that's the classic one here. Or they might ask, are you up to anything tonight? So do you have any plans this evening? Or what are you doing this weekend? Okay, so this I think, is a great opportunity to practice your English. But if you're feeling very nervous, don't feel like you have to reply. While you're getting your hair cut, some things that might be useful to say are, can you take it a bit shorter, right? So if you don't like the length, it's too long, ask them to make it shorter, right? Can you take it a bit shorter? I don't think it's even. So for example, with my fringe, this happens all the time. Yep. So maybe they're cutting it like this, like this. I want it straighter. Even means it's the same all over. And I just want a couple of inches off, okay? Or I just want an inch off when you're talking about how much you want to cut, okay? If you don't like your haircut, please don't be scared to tell them, because remember, haircuts are very expensive here, yeah? You need to get your money. So remember, if you want to complain, it's always good to start by saying sorry, right? Just say, sorry, but I'm not happy. I'm not happy with the haircut, okay? It's not what I asked for, yeah? I want the color, especially if you're getting color done, I wanted the color to be maybe darker or brighter or stronger. And hairdressers, especially with color, if you're not happy, they are very accommodating, okay? They will make a second appointment for you to come and do your color again, or they'll try and correct it the same day, yeah? The same with your haircut, okay? So don't be scared to speak to them, make another appointment and get them to fix it for you, okay? And once the haircut is finished, they'll probably ask you, what do you think? How's that? Do you want me to style it? So maybe you want them to straighten it or to put some gel or to make it waves. Do you want any product in it? Okay, so for example, if you use hair gel, you might say yeah, or some hairspray, things like that. They'll ask you, did you have a coat or a jacket or a bag? And you say, yes, I have the brown coat, the black coat. And they might ask you too if you want to schedule another appointment, okay? So if you're someone that gets their hair dyed regularly, for example, you might want to make another appointment in the next few months. Okay, guys. All right, so I hope that's been good vocabulary for you. So what we're going to do to finish is we're going to have a little chat with our partners, okay? If you're watching the recording of this video, you can try doing this as a writing exercise or record yourself speaking and answering these questions.